Hello, folks. Welcome to Let's Weld Something. I'm Bob Moffett. Today we are at Lincoln Tech in Chicago, Illinois, Melrose Park. I'm going to go in here, meet some instructors, tour the facility, and I know we're going to meet some bad boy students in here. I've already heard about them. So let's get in here and tour some facilities because it's cold. Anybody willing to teach me anything today? What are you working on?
I'm just going to take.
Not you. I'm tired of talking to you. No, I'm kidding. What are you guys working on as a whole group? Is everybody working on something a little bit different, or are you broken up into?
There are two classes here. There's the pipe, and then there's fabrication.
Okay.
Only a few of us are doing the pipe students have already done the pipe class.
Who's starting out in fabrication? Is there any math involved in that?
Just a little bit.
Yeah?
Well, it depends on what you're making.
Is that important that you know decimal equivalencies?
Yeah.
Why?
Because some engineers put down the decimal versions. And
You have computers. Anybody done anything on a CNC
Not yet.
on the keyboard? Well, there ain't no fractions on keyboard. Far as I've never seen them on there. Yeah, there's some software that you can do construction stuff. You can put fractions in, but why not just know them? If I ask you to find the circumference of an 8-inch pipe, what's the first thing you got to do? It's going to be changed over to decimal, is it not? See, everybody knows what pi is. I know you know what pi is. Not one person in this classroom does not know what pi is.
1477777.
Except him.
Yes.
You don't know. 3.1416 or whatever. But so everybody, when did you know that? When did you learn that? Long time ago. But a lot of people still don't know what they can do with it. Circumferences, areas of round things. Who invented that, by the way? Who invented pi? Somebody floating around the ocean drinking wine, eating mushrooms. I mean, that's been ancient times way back. But it's a constant, right? It's a constant in mathematics. If we brace something in fabrication, if we want to brace something and put a gusset somewhere, like those are cut at a 45, are they not? They smell like it from here. That's 45-degree angle over there. That's the strongest brace that you can put. It's 1-to-1, right? How long do you cut something like that? How do you figure that out? Because that's another constant that you should know. Am I right? So what is it? And if you mention Pythagorean's theorem, I'm going to slap you. See, that's what everybody wants to run. They want to run home to mama, that Pythagorean's theorem. We're going to square this and take the square root, a squared plus b squared, the square. Why? You want to do all that math? I don't. You like trig? Trig's a 4-letter word, is it not? It's a cool one, though. See, a lot of people don't know trig. Actually, you're doing it you're kind of doing it. Finding out trigonometry, the unknowns, the angles and stuff, that's actually fun. But it's like a nasty word in mathematics. You don't want to do it. But it's cool. The more you can do as far as precision layout, let me tell you, precision fabrication sells junk. You ain't gonna be able to give it away. The better your fit up is, the more quality is involved in your product visually. Your welds look better. The item you're designing might function better, right? If you're welding up a bunch of gap and having to grind and sand and all that, somebody's gonna see it. You're putting a lot of heat into it, it's going to warp. That's not cool, is it? So let's get back to this. How do you figure out, if I've got something that I want to, I'm going to brace it and it's 10 inches long, 10 inches long. That's a 45-degree triangle, right? How long do I cut that part? Is it going to be longer than 10 inches? Yeah. Let me back up a little bit and say something. Tech math is like common sense. If common sense grows in your garden, you can figure a lot of stuff. You kind of automatically know the answer to something prior to doing the problem. And by the way, don't punch in a bunch of numbers into a calculator and trust what comes out. If you put junk into the calculator, he's smiling back there, he knows what I'm talking about. If you put junk into the calculator, you're going to get a junk answer back out of it. Okay, put it in accurate. But if you come up with some answer that's like stupid small, it can't possibly be the right answer, right? You know that already. It's common sense. Versus something that comes out enormous, that can't be right. So let's take 10 inches by 10 inches and we're going to cut a brace. Follow me? How long do you think that would be? Well, we know it's going to be longer than 10 inches, but it's going to be something like this. Use the constant 1.414, please. It'll always come out that way. It'll always come out that way. You don't have to do all this squaring and square root and all that garbage. Don't do it. Just bang it out by 1.414. No questions about that? Come on, somebody ask me a question. I'm trying to help you out with your fit and fab. Huh?
So if it's 10 inches, then you multiply that by 1?
14.14. 0.14 is in between an eighth and 3/16. Cut it an eighth. If you're doing gas metal arc welding, cut it short, have a little bit of gap, fit it up, and be square, right? And you're done. You don't have to spend all this time. Nobody's in a real hurry, but we want to work clean, efficiently, and we want to cut stuff straight, square, and level with the world. And it's all good. Now, you know, the decimal equivalencies, you should know them every 16th within an inch. You should know them, just know them. And the other thing about that is you should know where they fall on tape measure. We're in America. We pull tape measures. We're not metric, are we? We're imperial, so we got it. But know where those decimals fall. It's a size relationship. Cool? Anybody want to rattle them off? What's decimal equivalency of 7/16? Is that less than or more than a half an inch? It's less than by how much? 1/16. 0.4375. Half inch is 0.5. Every 16th is 0.0625. You ready, sir?
Sorry.
0.0625, 0.125, 0.1875, 0.250, 0.3125, I don't know where I'm at, 0.375, 3/8. Just keep going. The two I always get stumped on are close to, they're 11/16 and 13/16. I don't call them 16ths, I call them stinks. 11/16 0.6875. I always get stumped on that for some reason. There's one of them I can't remember, but know where they're at and know where they fall. That way when you pull a tape, you know, you kind of get that feel for it and you know where it's at. You'll be able to read a tape measure right in front of you and upside down. There's times I might be working with him and he's going to have me take a measurement and I'm holding the tape measure. I have to hold it backwards. I'm reading it upside down. That's okay. I've seen it enough time. And if you buy one of these tape measures that has all these markings on it of where the eighths and all that, don't hand it to me. I can't read those things for nothing. Just give me a naked tape measure that has the 16ths on it. A lot of tape measures will have the 30 seconds within the first foot. That's cool. I don't know the decimal equivalencies of all the 30 seconds. I don't need to. But mathematically, if you ask me to get the circumference of an 8-inch pipe so that I can segment an 8-inch pipe 4 times or 8 times so I can lay out for a saddle or lay out for cut a thread of lead or something in there, I know that an 8-inch pipe is 8 5/8 in diameter, OD, right? It's not 8-inch, it's 8 5/8. Immediately, if I'm going to multiply that by pi, I've got to change it to a decimal equivalency. So don't fight it. You got to know it. 8.625 times 3.1416. Boom, you have a circumference. Divided by 4. That's each of your segments divided by 8. But don't make the mistake like I did first time and take a pair of dividers, because that's not the right. That's a chord measurement. And you'll not come out the same. Another thing was, let's see, what was it? I forgot what it was. Anyway, don't be afraid of math. Don't be afraid. We got to use it all the time. If you can ever take a class in physics, do it. If you're going to be out in the field and you're going to be rigging and lifting something, you need that. Am I right? I mean, that'll help you out a bunch. Chemistry, nothing wrong with chemistry. You're going to buy some filler wire. You're going to somebody hands you a piece of filler wire and it says N155 on it or something. What's that? You go to a spec book and you look it up. It's going to give it to you in chemical percentages, but it's not going to say nickel. It's not going to say chrome. It's not going to say vanadium. It's going to say Ni or W for wolfram, tungsten. It's going to give you something, so you kind of got to know what that is, you know, and don't be afraid of learning all that stuff. It's just good stuff. Talk to Brian, you call him up, say, well, I'm confused on this technical spec here you got for triple play. It's got some zinc in it, Zn. You know, potassium, Pb, let's see, what is it? Lead is Pb. Sodium, there's several of them that are not like W's, tungsten. Back in the old days, you know, we welded a lot of dissimilar metals. The stainless to carbon steel, the rod was 310 Cb. What's Cb? It's columbium. Columbium and niobium, same element, I believe it's to prevent or take care of carbide precipitation. What's that? Well, it's a granular corrosion, and that's where it's going to start rusting. It's right on the toe of the weld. Those are important things if you're doing that kind of work. Now the favorite rod is like 309 because it has a little more nickel content. People ask those questions, you know, what do I weld this with? What do I do this with? Know what you're working with. Know your metals and all that good stuff. Know your allowable limits. Know what you can get away with, and that's your window of opportunity, and focus on it. I've taught a lot of people in professional bowling, golf, sports. Welding is no different. It's repetitive motion. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Ambidextrous.
Is what?
Ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous purely. Brush your teeth with both hands. Don't stab yourself in the eye with a toothbrush. Or see, it's muscle memory. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Right-handed? If you injured your right hand, what would you do as far as, I mean, do you always get up and do the same thing, brushing your teeth or cutting your steak or any of that? You see what I'm saying? If you do something different, it feels very odd, does it not? You know, if you've watched some of my presentations, I told a story about teaching myself how to weld pipe off a SA200, a 1958 crank model SA200. Smoothest machine I've ever run in my entire life. Low turning RPM, 1750, quiet. The trick to starting this thing was one turn. Turn the fuel on, one turn, flip the switch, very next crank it started. I don't care what temperature was. It started and it ran smooth. So I'm out there in my garage in the wintertime and I'm teaching myself how to heliarc pipe with a dry rig. What you have set on the machine is what you're going to have. There's no amperage control, it's just there. Left-handed, I'm pretty good, pretty quick. Right-handed, it was horrible. I made a bone pile of my tungsten looked like Q-tips. It was horrible. I just couldn't get off the bottom, couldn't come up the pipe. But I didn't quit. And it was very uncomfortable for a while. And then I got the hang of it. It's like getting up on one water ski. All of a sudden the light bulb came on, man, I'm up and going. No head bobbing, I'm confident, you know, and I go back to my left hand. I couldn't weld myself out of a wet paper sack in the left hand. Because I've been over here practicing so much right-handed stuff. But it's a short learning curve, and I got back to it. Now I can do both, okay? But to keep an open mind to that, and you got to practice correctly. I had a saying there for a while: practice till you get good, and then drop your hood, and that's when you start practicing. Practice the right things. Keep yourself centered. You don't want, you know. And then there's times you want to force yourself to get comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You want to cram yourself down in the corner of a floor down there and make a weld off the floor up against the wall. Do that. It's not breaking you down. It's teaching you to become comfortable in uncomfortable situations. You'll be confident. That's what it is. You can make any of these welds in weird places, because they're all going to be weird when you get out of here, unless you're sitting somewhere at a table or a booth. If you're doing fabrication out in the field, you're going to be in some strange places. And it's just the way it is. It's the nature of it. So I'm trying to encourage you. It's things you want to do. The better yourself, you'll be above and beyond your. We're all out. We leave here. What are we doing? We're in competition now, aren't we? I'm in competition with you. Why would they hire you over me? I want to beat you out of the job, whatever it is. It's like something I want to get really, really good at, you know. And if I have a deficiency in something, I'm a little slack here and there. I'll go home and practice it, or I'll try to find some hood time somewhere and overcome it. And that's all I'm really trying to encourage you to do, because I've seen it in my career. You know, you get passed by for various reasons, and sometimes it's just because of who you know, and that's not right, but that's the way it is sometimes. But be confident, learn. You got questions, ask. Keep your record clean. Let's go to work.